This might be the cheapest bike packing bike and setup out there in the market. I paid for the bike 40 euro and for the panniers and the front basket 10 euro. So all in all, 50 euro for the whole setup. And I cycled with it all the way from Helsinki to Berlin, around 1,100 kilometers. So what I said in this video, I actually have tested. Also for the record, I've been bicycle touring and bike packing for around 14 years in different parts of the world with different bicycles in very extreme conditions. So what I talk about in this video, there is some experience behind it. And the reason I want to show you this bicycle is not because just getting views. To be honest, there is a lot of content out there in YouTube, in an online world, about the best and the latest bike packing gears and bike. So I want to show you another way also. So if some of you cannot afford the best bike packing bikes, still you can go out and you can enjoy of the ride, because I believe bicycle touring and bike packing, it's a great way of traveling and exploring the nature and exploring the world. I bought this bike actually from Helsinki, and it is from a brand called Tunturi. It's the Retki 5 model. The bike is around 45 years old and it was in a very good condition when I got it. It has a steel frame. The drivetrain is a Shimano trailer style of drivetrain with a chain, of course. It has a 7 gear only in the back and quite a big chain ring in front. The shifter is friction index style, basically something between, I would say, and did work during the last 1,100 kilometers really well with no problem. Front and rear hubs are also old school hubs from the Shimano with the cup and cone bearing. The rim is steel rim. I also have cycled actually quite a bit of off-road with it in Sweden and in Germany, and yeah, no problem. The brake surface is really slippery, so yeah, the brakes, they work, but they're not the best. But still, I could stop the bike with it, so no problem. In Finland, we call this kind of bike granny's bike, mummopyörä, basically. But it's been awesome really for this ride. Also, the bike fit for me has been super comfortable. I was on a bike like 7-8 hours a day, and I really didn't feel so much tired. Stem, as you can see, it's quite short, the length of the stem, and the handlebar comes slightly backward. It's a little bit like a back swap handlebar, and it's really, really nice to grab and cycle. But yeah, one thing I need to say, the saddle is not the original saddle, and it's not actually included that 50 euro. The saddle is my own saddle, which I've been cycling with it for last 2 years. It's from Selle San Marco. I really like the saddle, and I think saddle is super, super important for bike touring and bike packing, especially when you are on the bicycle for many days, for months, sometimes for years, many hours a day. It's really important to have a good saddle so you're comfortable. And I really recommend you to make sure in the middle of the saddle you have this opening. This really helps the blood move in your body, so you are much more comfortable. Also, I have this bell here, which was working really well. Regarding the panniers, we actually dumpster dived the panniers from a petrol station in Stockholm. We of course asked the permission from petrol station. So we took it from their garbage and we installed this pannier with the wire to the front and rear of the bike, and that's it. They did hold really well. One tip here, this style of setting up these buckets works really well if you cycle on the asphalt. But if you're going a lot of off-road with such a panniers, I would really recommend to attach these ones with the zip tie or a rope, because the wire will cut through to the plastic when you're on the road and bike is shaking all the way. Also, I made some holes on the bottom of these panniers, so when it rains, The water doesn't stay inside of the pannier, it goes through. Also, I put everything inside the plastic bag and I put it inside of the pannier. So more or less it is waterproof. Before I forget, front basket has been incredibly handy and it works as a handlebar bag, I would say. And here you can see I just hang the basket from the handlebar. Also, I put 2 pieces of wood over here as a support, so basket doesn't so much goes back and forward basically and wobbles. That's really important. Yeah, more or less that's about it. With this bike, with this setup, which cost me all in all 50 euros, I cycled 1,100 kilometers from Helsinki to Berlin with no problem. Everything worked perfectly well, and I hope this inspires you to go out and do your adventure, especially if you are in a tight budget. But before I go, a couple of important things. With this setup, it's really easy to go on an asphalt, so no problem. But if you are going to cycle a lot of gravel and off-road, then I would recommend to get a bike with a little bit thicker tire. There's a lot of old mountain bikes, 26-inch wheels out there. You can get it from the second-hand shop or online web pages or whatever for very cheap price, and those bikes, they will do very well. No worries at all. You can go and cycle long distances with those bikes. Important point, please make sure to check your spoke tension and keep your wheels true and the spoke tension high enough. You also really need to learn a little bit about how to true your wheel and how to play with the spoke tension. That's very important skill to have, and it will keep your wheel in a good shape, and there's a much less chance of breaking spoke or rim if you keep the spoke tension high and your wheels true. Another tip, if you're getting this kind of bike and you have an index shifter, if you have a time and possibility, you can get the old friction shifters and remove the index shifters and put the friction shifters. Those friction shifters, they will work for decades and maybe centuries to come, and you do not really need to adjust those at all basically. Only thing you need to do when you have a friction shifter, you need to set the limit screws of your rear and front derailleur. That's it. Rest of the job, you do it with your hand, and you will learn that in a fly. After a few days, you will master it and all is good. You will cycle and no problem. That's all. If you have any question about this, please comment below. I try to answer as soon as possible. If you find this video useful, hit the subscribe button and put the notification bell on. Then you will join NomadStrail's never-ending challenges around the world. See you in the next one. Cheers and bye-bye.